What's up? Welcome back. John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and I pledged to do this somewhat quickly, but still episodically, because I wanted to enjoy Cobra Kai Season 6. This is episode 2. This is my recap. It's going to be kind of short because honestly, not even all the characters are featured in this episode. So it's pretty easy to talk about. There's like a 3-point structure here. So this is on Netflix and it does have audio description done by Descriptive Video Works. So we'll talk about the quality of the audio description too. I've got a purple hat on backwards, I'm wearing black sunglasses, and I'm wearing a Yellowstone shirt. I remember one year when I tried to get a Cobra Kai shirt, but it was like sold out. And I was so disappointed. There was a sale. I usually get my shirts around like Black Friday, and I try to get like whatever sort of like pop culture I like. The Cobra Kai shirt was sold out, and I was like, damn it. So like it's on my list. Like I really want one, but um this episode not honestly did not excite me as much as the first episode. I thought the first episode did a really good job of bringing everybody back and letting us know where everybody was and tying everything together. It felt like the natural resolution coming out of season 5. Like, where do we go next? Oh, we're here. This is where we are. Now, episode 2 is sort of like, okay, so what do we do now? Well, we can't do the tournament yet. So we have to keep expanding these characters. So what do we do? Well, on one note, we're going to check on John Kreese and see what he's up to. Apparently, he has a daughter. So we're introduced to that and how they fought. I don't know if it's like his real daughter, his adopted daughter. There isn't like a whole ton of structure here. It's not like we see like a romance between him and this girl's mother over time. It's just sort of weird. It's very weird. But there is this girl that I think he considers his daughter, granddaughter. I don't know, man. I was having a hard time with this flashback, and he gets bitten by a cobra, and then he sees like and then he's young. It's like hallucinating. He's young Kreese, and there's young Silver, and then like Johnny comes in, and he's like, Cobra Kai, never fight, never, but I would have for you. You're my weak spot. His like he realizes that Johnny is his weak spot because he always would have backed off. And it's like, dude, you literally stole the dojo from Johnny. The scene doesn't even make sense within context of the story. Based on it's like it gaslights you into trying to remember. It's like, is this really how Kreese sees himself as being like the protector of Johnny? Because that's not what happened. Like he weasels his way back in and then takes over Cobra Kai. That is not being you're my weakness. Johnny Lawrence is he's my kryptonite. I would do anything for you. I don't feel that at all. Like I feel like he just uses people selfishly. So the scene was very weird for me. One of the reasons this episode didn't work for me, I was like, we're spending way too much time on John Kreese, and this whole thing is not working for me. None of this, but it's setting up this thing where, like, supposedly now he's really focused and he understands. And I'm like, if we needed to write a better way to do this because this was dumb. And he beheads a cobra. Like he has to encounter a cobra again. I'm like, this dude's like 80. Like, can we just please? I mean, Martin, I can't remember what his last name is, but he was on Dancing with the Stars. He got eliminated like first or second or something like that because he's old and he had a hard time on the dance floor. So, um, I don't buy the fact that he would be, doing half the stuff that he's doing in this. So, yeah. I didn't like the Kreese thing, which is why this episode's not getting an A. I'm fair. I don't just give A's to everything, even though I like the episode. Some episodes I have to realize this is dumb. Moving on. So the second part of the episode is sort of centered around Johnny, who realizes that he has to support a family, Miguel wants to go to college. Carmen's like, how are we going to pay for that? I'm like, I don't know, get him a scholarship. Like, he wants to go to Stanford, first of all. Like, you and Johnny just started getting together, and now you want Johnny to pay for Stanford. Like, that's a scholarship school, ma'am. I don't know if you know that. But you guys don't live in a situation where, like, having a real conversation about paying for Stanford is the thing that you have, especially with the guy you're technically not even married to. Like, why don't you get him to put a ring on it first? So, but Johnny's like, let me go out and find us a real place to live because I don't know, there's like a leak or something in this apartment, and there's too many of them and they're cramped, and they got the baby on the way. There's already like 5 of them because Robbie lives there, Miguel lives there, the grandmother, Carmen and him. So it's like five people already. And then it's gonna be 6 when the baby comes. So they need a bigger place. So Johnny goes out and he realizes first he meets like a douchebag. Actually, first, Chosen volunteers to go with him because he needed something to do this episode. There's just really a reason why. It's just we needed more Chosen and Johnny time. So Chosen tries to, on the first time, present Johnny as being more than he is to this guy, who then makes some dumb comments to Johnny. Johnny makes some dumb comments, and then the 2 of them don't mesh well together. And then he ends up being the real estate agent of this other house. But then, lo and behold, this other guy is like, the actual owner of that house is there, and he's like a big fan of Johnny Lawrence from way back in the day. Can you imagine that, by the way? Can you imagine they weren't even in the same grade. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're helping somebody that you went to school with. Like, he admits that he was in middle school when Johnny was in high school. Like, he's younger than Johnny. So, but he owns a lot of property there. And he's like, man, Johnny Lawrence, you were like everything back in the day. I saw you at I saw you at the karate tournament. I was like, how big is this karate tournament? Like, I'm trying to think of things. I'm trying to think of like, it would be like if we wrote a plot, it was like, man, I saw you play high school basketball. You don't remember me, but I was in middle school and you were in high school. And you were like everything back then. I know you didn't play professionally, but I'm really just talking about your high school career. But man, it was really cool to watch you in high school. So I'd really I would love for you to live in my house. So what it comes down to is the fact that Johnny really has no credit because he's basically just been the world's worst gig driver. If we remember him from like Uber Eats, he like eats some of the food and stuff like that. It's just, he's terrible at everything. And he's like, I have no credit. So he's like, well, why don't you develop some credit and then come back? And then like, yeah, we can get you into, he's like, I own a lot of property, so we can get you into one of these places. And Johnny's like, thanks, man. You know? Uh, so listen, I don't expect a lot from Cobra Kai. I just want it to be fun. But that scene was really just sort of like, they were like, how do we find a house for Johnny? What do we do with Johnny? And it would have made more sense if that person was in Johnny's grade level, if it had been somebody who was a former friend. It was just so weird because it's some kid who was like, I used to like moonwalk down the hallway. And it's like, why would he know you? You guys weren't in the same grade level. I didn't know who was in middle school when I was in high school. Like, I don't know. This film was like written by people who didn't go to school. They were all homeschooled. The whole writing team of this show were all people who wanted to go to school but didn't go to school. So then we're off with Miguel, Hawk, and Eli are all doing their own thing. And they go visit a campus, like for a campus tour, and they go to this frat, which is Kyler's frat, which I found very interesting because obviously he has a very complicated relationship because he was Cobra Kai under Silver. And I expected this to not go quite as well as it does because the only person he has any sort of a relationship with is Hawk, but yet it does. So Kyler is like, hey guys, what's up? And I'm like, okay. So Kyler's changed. And so they go to this frat party, but the guy's being a huge dick to Kyler, just really just a ultimate douchebag. This guy like walks down, he makes Kyler call him sir, and then he does this like vacuum thing with him later on, and because he's rushing a fraternity, so they're hazing him basically. And Big L overhears a conversation that this guy's boasting about, like, yeah, the guy gets in over my dead body, I'm just not letting him in. Which is so weird because, like, Kyler is the ultimate frat boy. So, like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like, why wouldn't he get in? He feels like he's one of you. Like, for 5 seasons, he was written like he was intended to be a frat boy in college. Like, that was a future job in life, was going to be frat boy in college. After that, I have no idea what his job career prospects would have been, but frat boy in college felt like the logical step for him. And then this guy's like, nah. I'm like, okay. So, of course there's a fight because we have to have some sort of karate at some point in the show. And since Kreese fought a snake and Johnny was fighting a home, it's up to these boys to provide the entertainment for the episode. So the three boys team up with Kyler and kick some frat ass when Kyler realizes that this guy's just leading him on and he's never going to make the fraternity, which leads to Kyler eventually getting an invite to be in another fraternity because there's another fraternity that hates that fraternity. So he gets into another frat anyway. And they're like, you don't even have to worry about the hazing thing. Just show up. We just want a badass. If you can just keep being that level of badass, we're good. And he's like, yeah, I can be that badass. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, So, I don't know if that's the last we'll ever see of Kyler. This is the final season, and they didn't invite him back to the dojo. So it's not like he's going to compete. I don't know if there is like a college level competition. So this might be the farewell to Kyler. Goodbye, Kyler. It was nice knowing you. Yeah, I wrote him a song. I wrote Kyler a song in that moment. There's another guy there called like Rux. Something like that. Who was at the party? I was like, am I supposed to know who this is? I know we have a large cast, and there have been a lot of people who have been like featured in dojos, but I feel like that's more like a facial recognition thing. It would have been like, oh, you remember that kid who was always like standing over to the left? That kid. Like, I don't think this kid ever got. I think this is the most that kid ever got in terms of screen time. Because he keeps mentioning he got into MIT, and like it blew the other kids' minds. They're like, "What?" Like they're like, "I got a 15 something," and how did he get into MIT? And he's like, "Oh," they're like, "What did you get on the SAT?" And he's like, "I got like a 750." I'm like, "What?" I knew where that was going. The joke is he got into something else with the initials MIT that's not Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So, which we all should have seen coming, and I totally did. I will say the third thing that I've described is the most fun because it's the one thing that actually has fighting. And it feels like logical to the plot, like these three would go to a party together. Like, or Dimitri, or what is his name? I think Hawk is Eli, right? And so Dimitri is the other kid. I think I said Hawk and Eli as if they're two different characters. Anyway, it's those three, but they always hang out together because they were friends to begin with. Robbie's not here, which is not really that concerning, but he was at the beginning of the episode in the house thing when the people here who aren't featured, I think at all this episode, were Samantha and Tori. They like had a free episode off. They got to go hang out somewhere else. In addition to like all of like sort of like downstream lower figures, like we didn't check in again on Kenny or Anthony or anybody like that. So, yeah, that's Cobra Kai episode 2. And just a brief breakdown of everybody. We do see later on Johnny comes in. It ends sort of with Johnny coming in and talking to Daniel about, wanting to change his life, be a better person, and Daniel, gives him. He's like, well, maybe it's time to get a 9 to 5 job like this, and so of course Johnny misunderstands and then comes in the next day dressed in like a suit and tie, thinking that Daniel just offered him a job. So in the time that it takes Daniel to walk into the office and talk to his wife about this and be like, Johnny misunderstood me, I don't know what to do. And she's like, oh, well, we could give him Robbie's old job filling with popcorn. He's like, no, he thinks he needs a real job. In that amount of time, Johnny sold the car. Like, in that amount of time. Johnny sold the car in like 60 seconds. That woman didn't even need to test drive. I don't think she got in the car. I think that woman like was looking at a car and Johnny was like, yo girl, what's up? You look fine in that car. Like, I want to see that conversation. That is the thing. I want a deleted scene. I want to see the scene that played out where Johnny sold the car in that length of time, where Johnny sold a car, something that was worth that much money, where the woman was, because she gushes over him when Daniel comes back out. She's like, oh my God, this salesman that you have, I have been with so many other salesmen, other places, and they're always just so pushy. But he just came in, and I was like, how is he not pushy when he sold a car to you in record time? Like, what did he say to you? What did he do that got you to buy that car? She's like, I'm going to send my whole family here. All of them. We're just all going to buy new cars from you because of him. So Daniel's like, well, I guess Johnny works here now. Congratulations. I was like, this, please try. Like, I know we're in a writer's room and you guys are like, well, it's Cobra Kai and people don't take us seriously. And it's like, I want to. There were times where I really thought like the emotional weight of the show actually was impacting me and I got really invested in these stories. Every once in a while it gets really cheesy and it's like, oh, damn it, it's cheesy now. And I felt like this episode had 2 cheesy storylines. I felt like Crease's didn't work for me. I felt like Johnny's didn't work for me. So I was left with like a frat party. And I was like, so if we could have expanded the frat thing into like the whole episode, would have been a better episode. But unfortunately not. Like if we had had more of the dojo go to that frat to mix with Kyler instead of Rux, was that his name? Who is this kid? I have no idea. Maybe he's been featured in another episode. I don't know. If he did, I'm guessing the amount of dialogue he had was really low. So yeah, I did like that part. So I liked a third of the episode. So do I give it like what, like a 33%? No, that would be really too low. Like that's an F. But no, this episode is not my favorite Cobra Kai episode. So I guess I'll give Cobra Kai season 6 episode 2 a B. Does that feel right? I mean, I still like watching the show, and I get some delight out of characters being on screen, even if they're doing things that are dumb. So, yeah, it's probably skewing in its favor. But yeah, I gave the premiere an A. So this is a noticeable dip from that. I felt like we're trying to establish some stuff, and we're in that holding pattern. And if part A is just like a holding pattern, because we have to later on get to the tournament, if I watch 3 more episodes after this that are all like holding pattern episodes, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. So, and Crease's thing just didn't make any sense. It was really dumb. I get what they're trying to do there. They're like, well, now we have to build up John Kreese again. And it's like, find a better way of doing it. This doesn't make any sense. This is, I get it. Cobra Kai, he beheads a cobra. Wow, look at that. We were really just heavy on the imagery here, but I'm not a fan. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.